Hello, welcome to the Natural Right Sangha. This is the weekly online meeting for the 22nd of November, 2020. Yeah, it's already late November. In the Pacific Northwest, it's gray and rainy out. What a surprise. And it's an interesting time for our precepts right now. With our precepts to be including being very careful of what we let be put into our bodies and those of our loved ones. There's a lot of interesting stuff happening with vaccines right now. And I've tried to do research into what is in these vaccines that are supposed to be the miracle over 90% cure for the COVID-19 virus. And so far, not a lot of information's coming on the ingredients. So we await to see. This week I was with a friend. In fact, that was a week ago today. I was with a friend. In the Lake Tahoe area, where Nevada meets California, up there in the Sierras. And I talked to him about vaccines. He has 4 wonderful young kids, 4, all between the ages of like 3 and 10 or something like this. And I told him about how I was concerned if I was a parent about all the vaccines kids are supposed to get between birth and 2.5 years old. And he just looked at me and said, well, my kids don't start getting vaccines until they're 2.5. And then I monitor them carefully. And I went, Part of me said, no wonder his kids are so healthy and doing so well. He's really paying attention to what's going into them. But that's the minimum of what I would do if I were a parent these days, is look carefully at the vaccines and make sure they didn't go in when they were babies or toddlers, for goodness sake. I've heard recently that people say, oh, everything's great about the vaccines because there's such a little bit of bad stuff in them. Oh, it's amazing what a little bit of stuff can do. And especially to a baby or a toddler. 1/1,000,000th of a part of gas in a thing of water, and it tastes like gas. There's no way you can ever take a gasoline tanker and wash it up and ever have any water or anything like that in it. It's virtually impossible. Maybe if you put it in the bottom of the sea wide open for 100 years and then you pulled it up, but then it would taste like seawater. But just a little, they say. Well, that's interesting. Maybe that's so. Maybe that's how it works. And maybe it's all right, but more research being done. I blather. Let's meditate. Okay, please set your timer for 10, 15, 20 minutes, however long you wish. And when it goes off, please turn this back on and come back to our meeting. So, sitting up straight. Eyes closed, focusing on the breath only, not letting thoughts intrude, just letting them go if they come. Let's begin. Okay, welcome back. I hope you had a wonderful mindful, peaceful time in your meditation. And I hope the precepts are going well for you. We'll talk more about the precepts next week again as a review, with a few new perspectives possibly. And last week we did part of this, part of the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu. And today we're going to do this again. There was a positive response from a few people about this, and certainly no negative ones. So we will read from it again. These fit in very well with our precepts, and I will comment as we go along about this. And I smile because I have Raman on both shoulders now, on the cover of Robert Wolf's great book, and just a picture of him. So, 32. The Tao is forever undefined. Small though it is in the unformed state, it cannot be grasped. If kings and lords could harness it, the 10,000 things would naturally obey. Heaven and earth would come together, and gentle rain fall. Men would need no more instruction, and all things would take their course. Once the whole is divided, the parts need names. There are already enough names. One must know when to stop. Knowing when to stop averts trouble. Tao in the world is like a river flowing home to the sea. And remember, the 10,000 things is a phrase that is used to represent everything in the material world, all the so-called things in the material world, living and non-living, everything, including us. 33. Knowing others is wisdom. Knowing the self is enlightenment. Mastering others requires force. Mastering the self needs strength. He who knows he has enough is rich. Perseverance is a sign of willpower. He who stays where he is endures. To die but not to perish is to be eternally present. 34. The great Tao flows everywhere, both on the left and on the right. The 10,000 things depend on it. It holds nothing back. It fulfills its purpose silently and makes no claim. It nourishes the 10,000 things, and yet it is not their Lord. It has no aim. It is very small. The 10,000 things return to it, yet it is not their Lord. It is very great. It does not show greatness, and is therefore truly great. 35. All men will come to him who keeps to the one, for there lie rest and happiness and peace. Passers-by may stop for music and good food, but a description of the Tao seems without substance or flavor. It cannot be seen, it cannot be heard, and yet it cannot be exhausted. 36. And to me, this is a very good example of the dualism of what is here in Maya and Samsara and Lila, and that is inherent in all language in order for it to work. You know, we have to have young and old, white and black, healthy and sick, etc., in order for language to work. But the Tao is beyond those dualities. 36. That which shrinks must first expand. That which fails must first be strong. That which is cast down must first be raised. Before receiving, there must be giving. This is called perception of the nature of things. Soft and weak overcome hard and strong. Fish cannot leave deep waters. and a country's weapons should not be displayed. I'm going to move ahead to 42. The Tao began one. One begot two, two begot three. Now, just that beginning. The Tao began one. One or without a second, which is Advaita, without a second. That begat two, two begat three, and three begat the 10,000 things. So in truth, it was all one. There was no second of anything. And then in this relative world, things began, and suddenly there were many, many, many. The 10,000 things carry on. The 10,000 things carry yin and embrace yang. They achieve harmony by combining these forces. Men hate to be orphaned, widowed, or worthless, but this is how kings and lords describe themselves. For one gains by losing and loses by gaining. When others teach, I also teach. That is, a violent man will die a violent death. This will be the essence of my teaching. There's a lot in that one. And a violent man will die a violent death. Yet Lao Tzu worked for the world court in which wars were often happening. It is said that late in life he was leaving to die in the desert, partly in disgust at how the affairs of man had gone. And a person, perhaps even a sentry or some sort of military person, said, please write down your thoughts before you leave. And this book is the result. Please share with us your wisdom before you leave this lila, this samsara, this maya. And thankfully he did. There are a lot of references to kings and emperors and lords in the Tao Te Ching because of this. And because he was a counselor to the lords, a respected person whose word was known to be forthright and honestly given. But not always happening in the world courts or in the government courts of today. Yes. 43. The softest thing in the universe overcomes the hardest thing in the universe. That without substance can enter where there is no room. First, I know the value. Hence, I know the value of non-action. Teaching without words and work without doing are understood by very few. Part of this one about the softest thing in the universe reminds me of what Bruce Lee had to say about water. He said water flows, it moves around things, it does not oppose, and yet when necessary, it crashes into something. Bruce Lee said, be like water. There's even a very good song made about this that you can look up on YouTube about Be Like Water with Bruce Lee, and interesting music, well put, I think. If you'd like more of the Tao Te Ching or things similar, please let me know. Please write to me at mark@naturalrightsangha.org. There are other things we can do too, of course. But the main thing is to be aware of the precepts, try to keep them in mind, try to live by them as best you can, and no judgment if something goes wrong, of course. Don't judge yourself and you won't be judged by us, assuming you're not an axe murderer in your spare time or something and uses us as an excuse. God knows that should not be happening. But So let's finish with the four measurables. And first we'll say them for ourselves. May I have happiness and the causes of happiness. May I be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May I never be separate from the happiness that is free of sorrow. May I reside in equanimity, free of attachment and aversion. So now let's do it for you and the people you care about, people you will have trouble with and want to have better things with, or just wish well, even though they've been a pain to you, to everybody, to all sentient beings, to the whole universe. So because it always won anyway. Yeah? So it really is okay. So again, for may we have happiness and the causes of happiness. May we be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May we never be separate from the happiness that is free of sorrow. May we reside in equanimity, free of attachment and aversion. Well, thank you for being here this week. May you have a good one. If you're an American, you'll have Thanksgiving coming up this week, and may you have a happy Thanksgiving. Given that most of us will not be with a lot of our close friends or family at this time, get due to the virus thing. But blessings always. Take care.